Hi, everybody, and welcome to our writing workshop, Write an Introduction lesson, week 3. Okay, the only things you need for this activity are a writing journal or a piece of paper if you don't have one, pencil, your intellect, and your full undivided attention. Let's get to work. Our objectives for today are I will show you strategies to write an introduction for a personal narrative. We will look at examples of personal narrative introductions. And you will start writing your own personal narrative introduction. Okay? So let's get going. Last class, or some classes before, we talked about how a narrative is the same thing as a story. It has the same elements. It has a theme, a plot, characters, and you know how the plot has exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and conclusion. All of that good stuff. So if a narrative is the same thing as a story, a personal narrative has to be the same thing as a personal story. And in this case, we are going to focus on a story that you have to tell, your personal stories, all right? And I know you have a lot of things to say. So let's watch this video together.
Writing a Personal Narrative, Episode 3, Writing an Introduction. A personal narrative is a true story about your life. You write about something that has happened to you. An introduction is the first few sentences of your story. It can also be called the opening or the lead. We write introductions to hook the reader. We want the person reading our story to be interested and excited to read more.
Okay, and I'm going to stop right here because I want to tell you something about this in particular. It says how an introduction is the first few sentences of your story. So whenever we write our own introduction, I don't want us to get carried away and write a whole story. We're just going to stop wherever we're done with the introduction, which is the opening or lead, or the part where the characters are introduced and where you hook the reader. I'm going to continue with the video.
There are a lot of different ways you can hook a reader. I'm going to show you 4 different ways. The first way you could hook a reader is to start your story with a sound. These are called onomatopoeias. For example, you might start your story by writing, "Boom! I heard a loud crash in my house." The reader would wonder, I wonder what that crash was all about. They would be interested to read the rest of your story. Another way you could hook the reader is by starting your story with talking. This is called dialogue. For example, you could start by writing, "Go away, I told my brother." The reader would probably want to read more to find out what your brother was doing. You could also start your story by asking the reader a question. For example, you could ask, "Have you ever been to a water park?" This would help the reader make a personal connection to your story. People are more likely to like stories that they can relate to. And last, you could start your story by describing the setting. The setting is where and when your story happens. For example, you might write, "One dark, stormy night last weekend, I was home alone." Ooh, I bet the reader would want to read more about what happened on that dark and stormy night. So now I have several options about how to start my story. The story I am writing is about getting a new dog. I think I want to start my story with a question. I'm going to write, "Have you ever felt so happy you could cry? That's how I felt last summer when my mom told me I could get a dog. I had wanted a dog for so long, I couldn't believe I was finally going to get one." Hopefully, people will read the introduction to my story and they will be hooked. They will want to read more. That's it. Check out episode 4 to see how I write a draft story.
All right. We won't get to that, but we already saw an example of what she meant. Like, see how she organized her story? First, then, next, and last. So what we're writing right now is the first. That is where the characters are introduced, and you use one of those hooks, the ones that she was showing. Remember, think about one that you want to use, either a sound, talking, a question, or a setting, and you can also start thinking about the story you want to write about. Okay, I think that you already have it covered. So it's your turn to start with a story. Don't forget that whenever we are starting with an exposition, we have to talk about the setting and the characters, like she did. She was saying that she was excited because she was talking to her mom about the dog. So that's a part of it. And pretty much it's your turn, guys. Your teacher will tell you how it's best for you to turn your work in. It could be either be a Google slide where you start writing on. It could be your digital journal, writing journal, or a piece of paper that you take a picture of it. It all depends on your teacher, but that's gonna be your product. All right. Hope you have success. If you need to play this video again, just come back and see it and try to get more ideas from the video we just saw. All right. Okay. Have a good time, guys. Bye bye.